So I'm not gonna lie. The Alexa Philippou tweets are like Woj bombs at the minute. I got notifications on, and I'm just waiting. Every time I see Alexa Philippou's face pop up on Twitter, or I look at my phone and it's something from Alexa Philippou, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on now? So this was an article that she posted a grand total of 35 seconds ago. So we are quick to this. So shout out to Michael Vopel for writing this. So as the WNBA and WNBPA's Player Association continue month-long negotiations over a new CBA, the leagues prepare for a historic offseason that will bring first $1 million salaries and other landmark changes. I don't know which players are and which players aren't. Like, it is very, very clear that there are a lot of players. Like, it's been made clear as well that there are players talking behind the scenes to teams. Like, a lot of these players are talking to their teams behind the scenes and are like, okay, this is what we're sorted for contracts wise. This is what this is what's happening. Like, it is one of these things where there's a lot of players, people are like, oh, the players can't say in their teams. Yeah, a lot of these players are talking to their teams. Like, it is what it is. A lot of these players are talking to their teams right now. But at the end of the day, like, that is something. It's also an immense period of uncertainty from team owners to the last player on the bench, general manager in particular, in limbo as they prepare for a 2-team expansion draft. Evaluating college overseas talent, thinking about the 2026 rosters, making any infrastructure moves. Overseas talent, definitely not the fever GM. That's all I'm going to say is this is definitely not the fever GM if they've just said overseas talent. If you know anything about the fever GM, there ain't no recruiting overseas for them. But yeah, it's one of those things again. They are, obviously it says here, thinking about their rosters right now. And it's a normal year. They've already been on free agency. Instead, everything's about personnel now. That applies to everything. You do as much as you can. You create as many different scenarios as possible so that we're ready to go. We're in a good spot to move quickly. Every GM should be doing that. Like, I've said this with the expansion draft. Teams know who they want to protect. And Portland and Toronto have every possible outcome already decided. They have every possible outcome already decided. They're already talking to agents about the health of players, about how they wouldn't mind playing in Toronto. Like, everything. Like, when it comes to players being protected, they're unrestricted free agents. They're being talked about what's the potential of you getting cored in Toronto, what way that core designation is going to work. And, like, teams are in constant communication with agents. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is at this stage. But at the end of the day, this is one of those situations where it's just kind of an unprecedented. But look, these people are getting paid millions of dollars. Like, they are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. So I think the GMs are kind of doing that. So obviously he said, well, some of them, they're going to pay collectively millions of dollars. I don't know individually. But obviously, I wasn't. The GM said they weren't shocked by him setting a date. I will say I was surprised that it was the first time they used timeline as a negotiation tactic. Like, what you're doing is in late February. We've been doing reverse engineering math internally and thought this date would be way sooner, like 10 days to a week earlier. Around NBA All-Star, we thought there was no way to squeeze everything in this timeline. For anyone to say they're surprised, they set, what do you mean? There are 2 teams without rosters. What are you thinking? Like, no, like, we have to be real here. Like, we can talk about this like real people and not weird WNBA shills scared to say anything negative about anyone because apparently it's anti-woman. Like, at the end of the day, we can talk about this like real people. There are a group of players, there are a group of fans that want the players to strike. Because I read this somewhere and it was like, there are a group of players that want the players to get the best deal they can. There are a group of players that want to be seen as the faces of a quote-unquote transformational changing deal and want to be responsible for negotiating that. And anything less than exactly what they want is deemed to be not as a failure, and therefore they've failed. Which means, and the only way, and like, if the outcome is transformational deal or burning down the league, they're choosing to take that risk because they get to be the face of that. But anyway, the draft is what it is. Last year's, they were allowed to protect 6 players. That would be my guess, is that they can protect 6, maybe 5 players. It might be 5 if it's 6. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Most teams know who they're protecting. How have you prepared for the draft? That's actually one of the few things where you can get 80-90% done. You got close to the loop once you get the final rules. We have all the information about all of our own players, who's healthy, who may have a good year, things like that. It's just once we have the rules, we got to make a final decision. Obviously, yeah. I've said that. I've been saying that for ages. We were like, oh, they need to know so many things for the expansion draft. And I'm like, oh, these teams have every single possible bit of info, every scenario planned out. Like that, you can do I'm not joking. If you sign the CBA on the 31st, let's just say it's signed on the fully signed and delivered on the 31st of March, you can literally, I'm not joking, you could do the expansion draft on the 2nd of April. Like teams have planned for that and they're already sorted. We've gotten a gist. We're not going to be able to protect 6. Most likely it will be 5. You just run through a bunch of scenarios and be as prepared as possible, trying to project other teams, what their situation is going to be, who's being available and who's not. So preparing even more. We can't say, okay, here are our parameters. We need to worry about that. It's like we kind of know. Like that is a big one. It's limitless the amount of possibilities you can run through, and then also think best. Like, to be fair, like there was loads of things. Like I don't think the Fever thought that Temi was going to be taking the expansion draft last year. I literally think that they thought there's a 0% chance that they're going to take Temi, and that they were going to go and take Grace Berger. Like that was my guess. So they were like, oh, we kind of don't want to lose Dantas in case they end up taking Dantas, because Dantas was guaranteed to be under contract and we didn't know what Temi was going to be on because she was a reserve free agent. Like I think they literally thought that Grace Berger was going to be taken. Right now, the likelihood is that because of the free agency status and the way you can sign players, is that it's either going to be a nobody taken from Indiana or Christy Wallace or Chloe Bibby. But yeah, it says here, we have shifted from thinking about the expansion draft. There's no point in anyone going through more mocks if everything's a question mark. Salary cap hasn't been set. A lot of it's still the same. We know which players are up for contract, which players are not. The two biggest nuances we still don't know are the rules defining core designations, which is big, obviously. And what's the maximum salary, what's the minimum, what's the overall team cap, with player preference stylistically of who you're looking for, who you have a good idea, but we still need those final details. Do whatever we can say, I know every member, I know every rule. These are different scenarios we're going to go with. At the end of the day, CBA is what makes this thing move. Those are the rules of the game. We can do as much as we want. Without the rules, it's hard to get past a certain level. Right now, it's all about ideal scenarios and worst case scenario. Hopefully, we meet somewhere in the middle. The numbers that are being thrown around for salary cap, we can play around. Those in projectable plays will fall, but nothing's set in stone. So even the GMs are like, they have to meet in the middle. But both sides are like, no, we're getting our way. And I stand by this. I think a meet in the middle of 7 to 7.5 million salary cap, a meet in the middle is not only more than possible, but doable. Like, it's one of those things where it's like it is very, very doable. But I think the players are so set for their transformational deal that I don't think they'll do it. Ultimately, a cap is a cap, no matter what numbers. So you think best in terms of percentages. That is very true. Everyone's like, oh, but like, there's no middleman in this new CBA. What about the middleman? I'm like, are we okay? Like, just as a collective, are we okay? Do we not remember that the Aces literally just won a championship having 4 players pretty much on a max, and then the rest of their team pretty much being on minimums? Yes, there were people give and take, making a little more, but they essentially had a full team of minimum maximum players. The Phoenix Mercury were even more prevalent for that. They had 3 players on genuine maxes, Sammy Whitcomb on close to a max, and an entire team of minimum contract players. It is what it is. Especially being so many free agents, the unrestricted free agent rule stays the same, or changes that could dictate who you could potentially lose in your roster. Have at least take a look at what the odds are. Could be of interest in expansion team, but it's a really big piece to it. It's hard to know what your situation is. It's not totally dependent on you. It depends on who else the expansion team selects. Obviously, you're super familiar with players in our league, yada, yada. Here's tier 1 we want to sign. If not, here's tier 2. So obviously, like, it's just, this now is like, okay, just normal what GMs are doing. But it does almost sound a little bit like, look, when we get these rules, normal service resume. I think there'll be less potential free agency movements. Agents are pointing in that direction. Players might look safe for 1-year contracts. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Maxes up to 1 million, there'll be movement. Who will turn down a max salary? And it's going to be interesting to see who gets offered the max. I literally read a post being like, oh, the Indiana Fever need to worry about Natasha Howard who's going to want a max. Who the fuck is paying Natasha Howard a max? She averaged 12 points per game last year and showed up like 4 times. Yes, one of them was the Commissioner's Cup final. Absolutely. She rightfully won the MVP. But like, Natasha Howard was not good for the Fever. She was the weak link in the Fever. But right now, just talking to agents, sharing a vision, just asking to get us a seat at the table. So like, it seems like the GMs are saying that as well. The GMs are like, the agents are like, please just let us get in on these negotiations. What the fuck's going on? Like, even the teams are confused about what's going on. So it's like, and by the way, this isn't just solely on the PA. It's the league. The league are literally just stalling. They're trying to they're trying to do a whole bunch of things. But it's like, I mean this when I say this. It doesn't really matter what side is right and what side is wrong, because if the outcome is the same, and both sides are trying to outpetty the other side, and the outcome is no league, they're both equally as wrong, in my opinion. Because it is, again, this is one of those this is one of the most delicate topics, because you go from a sport that is being seen as a boom and might have the biggest future to a sport with no future. Like, if there's no WNBA, Unrivalled's not lasting more than 5 years. I think they know that. Like, let's be real. I think they know that. You can even hear it with the way Alex Basil was talking. If there's no WNBA, because that's, by the way, that is the way that they're talking right now. It's not about, if there's a delay, if there's no WNBA season. You can hear it by the way they're talking, by the way a lot of people are talking, that this is life or death in WNBA. Even the people that are like absolutely pro burn it down. I think I listened to one of the guys on No Cap Space who believes the current structure of the WNBA isn't good for the players. But it's like, people on all sides are like, look, the league very well might not exist if this CBA isn't signed. Says we have a countdown in our office which is getting scarier and scarier to see. It's a countdown in training camp, the first preseason game, first regular season game. It's getting very real from GMs, which is kind of scary there. By the same token, had there not been new CBA, I don't think this many players will be free agents now. They're conscious to be structured. Wouldn't have been structured to end in 2025. I think all things considered, probably see less player movement than ever expected 18 months ago. Whenever we do get a free agency, most players aren't going to be playing anymore, right? Unrivaled will be over. AU will be over. There'll be some players playing overseas. The majority aren't there anymore. Are we going to be like college home visits? What's it going to look like in free agency? I mean, I think a lot of it's just going to be agent talk, to be honest. I think a lot of it's going to be agent talk. How's your workflow been changed? Trying to do things reverse order. Usually we hit free agency first and we go into finalize staff additions. This obviously try to finalize anything organizational, which, by the way, every team is operating like that. And I don't think people understand that because of all the teams operating in that way, that they're spending all this money. If there is a lockout, or there won't be a lockout. The owners aren't going to lock them out. If there is a strike, there's the outcome is that they're going to have to make back that money. So like, let's just say a team has all these staff and everyone hired on however many some of them on multiple year contracts. To get anyone good, you're going to have to offer multiple year contracts. You're going to have to pay out that contract if the league doesn't exist. So like the league is going to come back to players and they're like, okay, yeah, we want this gross rev split. And the league are going to come back and be like, no. Your salary cap's going to 2 million and there's no charter flights. We'll go to 3 million. We'll double the previous salary cap, but there's no charter flights. Like they'll come back with something like that, which means there's not going to be a league. They have to recoup that money somehow. A lot means the coaches, let's say, we're making the most of the time we have in our hands. The countdown in our office is getting scarier and scarier. But yeah, it is what it is. Basically, it's normal service resumed. They have to act as if there's a season going on. But let's be completely real. The PA don't seem to want there to be a season going on. So yeah, it is what it is. I'll see you guys.